Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and today I want to take a look at Rainbow Six Siege. This has been a game that I have been very excited about. I love the premise, I love that SWAT breaching gameplay, and ever since I saw the trailer last year at E3, the game looks awesome. Like, the game does look phenomenal. After playing it for a couple hours though, during the closed alpha, I've realized that it's a little bit of a diamond in the rough, in the sense that it has a ridiculous amount of potential. There are moments that you will experience in Siege that you will never have in any other first-person shooter. Like, it seriously is amazing, but then it's squandered and tarnished by a lot of bizarre balancing and design decisions. And so I'll go into more detail as to the things that I've appreciated about the alpha, the things, of course, that I'm really questioning, but my main concern is Ubisoft, do not screw this up. Do not screw up Rainbow Six Siege. It has a lot of promise here, and I would hate if this turned into another, AAA shooter that comes out for a couple of weeks, people play it, realize it doesn't have a whole lot of depth there, has a load of issues, feels like an incomplete game, and then they just go back to their core games like Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. That is the scenario that I want to avoid 100%. And so easily, the strongest aspect about the game is that destruction. I went into it thinking, there's no way that these maps are as destructible as that E3 trailer. They were punching through almost every wall, they were shooting through almost every wall, and you would have the ability to use a breaching charge to take out the floor itself. This is not something that we find in a lot of first-person shooters, and knowing Ubisoft and the way that they've conducted trailers over the last couple of years, I was thinking that it might have been a little bit too good to be true. Thankfully, at least for the most part, every surface, unless it's like a concrete reinforced wall, you can take it out. What I love about this is that it completely changes the way that you approach combat and think about different situations. If you know that the enemy is down a long corridor, instead of just waiting for them to peek their head out, you can quite literally shoot through the wall that is covering them and try to take them out that way. There were numerous occasions where I was hunkered down, I thought that I was completely safe, I assumed the enemy had no idea I was there, I was waiting for them to round the corner unsuspectingly, but then the enemy got smart, they realized that we were probably in this general area, and then two of them just took me out instantly by shooting through the wall. It's really, really cool. Like, it really adds a different dynamic that you just do not experience in other first-person shooters. It does come with some problems, though, and I think one of the biggest ones is that I'm finding that the developers can't decide on what type of game they want. Do we want it to be super tactical, which the Rainbow Six franchise is known for, or do we want to appeal to a wider market? Do we want to make it more accessible and add in mechanics that people would be more comfortable with? I understand them wanting to make it more accessible. If they broaden their audience, of course, more people are going to buy the game, but what I'm finding is that this middle ground is leading to some serious issues, and it just doesn't seem like the game is benefiting from it. The best example that I can think of are the hit markers. Going back to destruction, it's awesome, but one of the problems with it right now is that if you are hiding behind a wall, the enemy can basically put a couple of rounds everywhere where they assume that you might be, get a hit marker, and then just blaze that area and take you out. They shouldn't have known that you were there, but because of this hit marker system and the destruction, you basically died because of this silly mechanic added into the game. Not only that, but they also give players way too many ways at figuring out where the enemy is through these walls. Not only do you have the little drones that you can drive around to peer under doorways and figure out where they're situated, but there's also cameras all around this house. I don't know why there'd be cameras all over the house, but the biggest offender is the heartbeat sensor on one of the operators. The operators are essentially your class system. The class system is pretty cool in Rainbow Six Siege, but one of the operators has this heartbeat monitor that basically allows you to know where the enemy is at any given time and allows you to see through walls. Whenever I used this gadget, I felt like I was cheating. I felt dirty because there were numerous occasions where two guys would round the corner. I knew that they were about to round the corner because of the heartbeat monitor. I was able to relay that information to my teammates because we were over voice comms, and they stood no chance. I went against a player who was admittedly amazing. He knew what he was doing, but he was using the heartbeat monitor. He was the only one left on his team, so it was like 1 versus 4, and he killed all 4 of us, no problem, because he knew exactly where we were. We would enter the room trying to figure out where the hell he was, and he was able to take all of us out individually because of this one gadget. Like, it feels flat out broken in a tactical game like this. Another criticism that I have, and this will be the last criticism that I make because I realize that this is the alpha. This is bare bones. They have like 6 months until the release, and so I don't want to be too hard on it. But the gunplay, I find to be a little boring. And everything really just comes down to the fact that every single weapon feels exactly the same, and that's contributed to there's almost no recoil whatsoever. Basically every weapon that I picked up, I could point and click at the enemy, hold down the trigger, continue to hold down the trigger without having to tap fire, and the weapon would do all of the work for me. I may have had to compensate for a little bit of recoil here and there, but it was so minimal that I couldn't differentiate, I couldn't figure out the difference between using one gun over the other. And so I don't know if this is simply because they're trying to cater to more of the console gaming. If you have a PC tactical gamer with a lot of recoil, that may turn off a lot of console gamers to your title, but even then, I feel like they could bump up the recoil just a little bit where you could really feel if you were using one gun over the other. But overall, I am still very enthusiastic about Rainbow Six Siege. I think it has a ridiculous amount of potential, but my one plea to Ubisoft is please do not screw this up. Give your developers plenty of time to polish it out and create enough content where at release it feels like a finished product. There have been way too many AAA games that have come out recently, especially first-person shooters, that feel lackluster. They just do not feel complete, and I would hate if this was another one that followed down that path. Not only that, but decide on what type of first-person shooter you're creating here. Don't create a middle ground. Decide on what you're going for and stick with it. Don't be emulating other first-person shooters because they're successful. Don't make this another Call of Duty or Battlefield or Counter-Strike with slightly different mechanics. Gamers are going to quickly figure out after a couple of weeks if you just try to emulate these other 3 games or just really any other first-person shooter out there, they're going to realize, oh yeah, this feels like Call of Duty with a slightly different mechanic here and there. I'm going to go back to all of these other games because, well, they just do them better. They've had, some of them had more than a decade to refine the formula, and if you just jump in trying to emulate them, I think ultimately that is going to end in failure. That's just my 2 cents though. Maybe I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, but I think if you decide on what type of game that you want and stick with it and create your own unique experience in general, that is going to be for the better. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Rainbow Six Siege. Do you agree with the points that I made throughout today's video? Do you completely disagree? Let me know down below. But yeah, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.